In the fall of 1934, Civilian Conservation Corps Company 787 arrived and built quarters on newly acquired land along the Cuivre River near Troy, Missouri. In 1935, another company, Company 3771, Company 3771, was formed at this location, and Company 787 was moved to Minnesota. Over the next 4 years, the CCC and later Group of Emergency Relief Administration workers constructed over 50 structures, roads, and trails. Among the CCC structures are the Stone Rock Bridge on Highway 147 over Little Sugar Creek, the Stone Picnic Shelter, Visitor Center, and Ranger's Office. In 1939, the land opened as a 5,800-acre Cuivre River Recreation Demonstration Area. A key feature of the new park was Camp Sherwood Forest, which opened 2 years earlier in 1937. Still open today, this public campsite was built by the CCC and has 53 original buildings and structures. Another historic area at the park is Frenchman Bluff. Located along Cheatham Road, the area is steeped in local history. There are several legends about how the bluff got its name. The most well-known is that a Frenchman was being chased by Native Americans and decided to jump off the bluff instead of being scalped. Whichever the origin story, the bluff is a beautiful overlook of the river valley below. On November 8, 1946, President Truman signed a letter transferring the Cuivre River Recreation Demonstration Area to the state, creating Cuivre River State Park. Like Washington State Park in DeSoto, the park has 2 National Register of Historic Place districts, the Camp Sherwood Forest Historic District and the Cuivre River State Park Administrative Area Historic District, both created on March 4, 1985. The first buildings you'll find in the park is the Visitor Center. This is one of the many buildings built by the CCC in the 1930s. This is at Lincoln Hills Road and Highway 147. On the left side of the building is a small museum to the CCC, which includes pictures from not only here but other parks like Babbler. Here's the stone shelter at the park. This is tucked way back in the woods off of 147. This was for sure built by the CCC. This one's very unique because unlike the shelters at the other parks I've featured, this one's almost all stone, with the exception of the roof. Now there is a room over there, but it's always locked, so it's probably just storage or something. This one has a fireplace on it, but it appears to be locked right now. It's well preserved too, which I like about it. Another cool thing is it has this little patio area with that room entrance on my right. This leads to a playground, and I think there's a trail behind the shelter too. Here's the back section of the shelter. With all this boarded up area on my right, I'm wondering if there was another section to it at one time. Down the street from the Frenchman's Bluff is something called Panas House. This was built by Charles Linehan, a man from Troy, in the late 30s or early 40s. It sadly burned from lightning strike in the late 60s, shortly after his death in 1964. All that's left is his chimney. Very tall too, it's about 2 stories tall. Not much left of the foundation either. Behind the chimney you have a little bit more foundation. I guess this is maybe a room or maybe an outbuilding. Here's the view from what I'm assuming was the first floor of the basement. Before they built this new bridge, this is more wooded, but after they built the new bridge in the early 2000s, this lost a lot of trees. It's no longer as wood as it probably used to be. There's a sign about the house and its history. It even has an old picture of it, which I think is cool. Parking for the Panas House is right next to the road that leads to Frenchman's Bluff. It's like a little gravel turnaround. There really isn't an official parking lot here. This is the current Frenchman Bluff Bridge. This was built shortly after the old bridge collapsed in 2006. Now, the old bridge was a beautiful one-lane bridge built in the 1880s. Sadly, it was destroyed in an accident in 2006. And then this one was built farther upstream. So there wasn't a bridge here until the early 2000s. I would imagine before this was built, this area is more remote and wooded. Now, Frenchman's Bluff is on a long gravel road, but eventually as you get to the top of the hill, there's this parking lot marked by yellow bricks. This is the Frenchman's Bluff. There are several different vantage points, but this is the main one. A lot of people get their graduation pictures taken here. It's a beautiful view of the valley below. This is the walk down to the overlook. Wouldn't recommend walking any further than where I'm at right now. You can, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's very dangerous. See, this is what it looks like from below me, but it's a very steep and rocky path down. People have managed to get down there, as you can see, by all the trash, but wouldn't recommend it at all. Just outside the park is the historic Thornhill Cemetery. This is on Thornhill Cemetery Lane, which is just off of Thornhill Cemetery Road. This is a massive cemetery, and all the older stones are pushed way in the back. There's also a cool old church over here too. There are more stones behind me, but they're all new. So I just took a peek inside this building. It is actually a storage shed. It's not an old church. And it looks like it's sagging to one side, so it may not be here much longer. This is the side with all the old stones. This is behind the storage shed. There isn't a paved road that goes back here, it's just a gravel road. There are some newer ones, but these are predominantly older ones. So this is one of the older stones. This one died in 1853, so almost 200 years ago. This is as far back as you can go in the cemetery. I think these two are my favorite. They're so ornate. The one on the left died in 1887, the one on the right died in 1886. So they're a good 140 years old. These are the tallest in the cemetery. The one on the left is from 1898, the one on the right is from 1891. They stick out, especially when you're driving in.